Welcome to your Venus into Virgo inside track. On July the 9th, Venus, the planet of relating and romance, but also of money, good taste, and refinement, moves into the ultra practical Virgo from the flamboyant Leo. She's going to be here through to August the 6th. What can we expect? On the screen is the event chart of the moment she arrives. That forges some intriguing influences which will provide a backdrop. But I'm also going to tell you about two upcoming influences which are intriguing too. You can also download your Venus Factoid underneath this video. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. Thank you so much for joining me. So Venus in Virgo is said to be in her fall. So in the opposite sign of Pisces, she's exalted and really shines and resonates. Because Virgo can be very precise and practical and scrutinizing, perhaps there is a tendency here for Venus to see her glass as being half empty. But also it can be a fabulous location for true commitment and also for those thoughtful, practical gestures that actually are the bedrock of most really good relationships. But we're definitely moving from a time of candlelight and roses with Leo into much more about what can I do to assist you. So if you're in a relationship where there's a good share of the domestic heavy lifting, Venus here will definitely be an asset. But Venus here can also be perhaps a little bit shy and reserved. So if people have it in their natal chart, and it does depend on the house and also the other planetary influences, can be maybe a little slower to get into a longer term relationship, or a little bit more discriminating. Or if you're in a relationship with someone with Venus in Virgo, you probably know clearly what their preferences are or not. So the spontaneity that can come with Venus is weakened here for sure. But if we look at the angle between Venus and Chiron, newly arrived in Taurus, for the first time in 43 years, they're in a beautiful trine. The moon's also very supportive because it's in Taurus where she is exalted. And this is very helpful because we've got a lot of fire and air energy going on with Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Mars, and Jupiter all lighten up the skies in a very electric and exciting way. We get an opportunity now to just get a bit more grounded. So, what are things really about? What is their tangible worth? And Venus in Virgo can help us to scrutinize things a little bit. But we are going to see over the next week, peaking on the 13th of July, a clash between Venus and Uranus. Now, anyone who's got Venus in an aspect to Uranus in their natal chart is pretty picky about the relationships they get into because for them, personal freedom and space is vitally important. But Uranus in Gemini is particularly freedom loving and may have perhaps more of an appreciation of their ideals. So if you encounter someone over the next 28 days, you might find them very attractive and alluring, but once you have the conversation, if they're a bit more rooted in reality and you're someone who likes a lot of buzzy excitement and quick exchanges, that can be a passion killer almost straight away. But what the aspect can also do, peaking on the 13th, in an existing relationship, is push us to try to reignite the spark by being a bit more spontaneous. And that's difficult for Venus in Virgo to be. So if there's a weak relationship, there could be a little bit of a challenge there. We've also got Venus moving into an exact right angle, a square with Mars through the last 10 days of July. Now, if there's someone you encounter during that time, perhaps in a very functional situation, the supermarket queue, on the catching the train, it may be at the fitness suite, those kind of places for romance, very much Venus in Virgo, but Mars very much in Gemini likes things to move quickly. It's the thrill of the chase. So again, there could be a desire to connect to someone and they just don't get the vibe, and that's entirely possible. But if you are wanting to reinvigorate a relationship and do things in a different way, I think being very thoughtful about what we do to support our partner, our colleagues at work, or how we use our resources, if we think about not just what we want, but is there a functional benefit to that? That's something to really bear in mind with Venus in Virgo. But that link to Chiron, I should say, is a great opportunity to think about what we do have, whether it's in our relationships of all kinds or in terms of resources, and celebrate the value of those and not only be focused on what we're not quite getting now. And that energy in Gemini is craving excitement, and this is a bit slower, but it's more lasting. So if you have got a connection to someone and it's pretty steady Eddie, but not always glamorous, don't see it as being a relationship that you need to ditch, but work on. Thank you so much for joining me. To understand what July holds for you as a whole and Venus in detail, please join me for your July monthly forecast by clicking on the link within this video on the eye. But do check out that free Venus download underneath this video.